Thanks, Simon. So we continue with the coronavirus update, looking at various aspects of it. You've seen that it's been wreaking havoc around the world, with some businesses experiencing a slump, while workers are torn between staying at home and going to work. Other companies have strengthened existing sick leave policies in a bid to avoid workers duping them. So what exactly are your rights as an employee in the face of this pandemic that's turned our lives upside down? Labour law expert Natasha Moni joins us now via Skype. Natasha, very good evening to you. Thank you so much for speaking to us. I want to start with domestic workers. They've been mostly under the spotlight of late because we've heard of some of them being fired due to the spectre of the COVID-19 infections.
I think this is absolutely terrible. And I don't understand why the most vulnerable of workers would be so seriously affected when they possibly have caught coronavirus or COVID-19 via the people that they're being employed by. Unfortunately for domestic workers, and this also includes your gardeners, that they don't get to be able to be compensated in terms of COIDA, which is our compensation for occupational injuries and diseases act. And this is at the Constitutional Court at present, but there has not been a definitive result or remedy given to domestic workers as yet.
So, as you say, it's because they're more vulnerable because they're less protected by our labour laws. Now, in terms of Occupational Health and Safety Act, how can employers ensure that employees, for starters, have a safe working environment?
Well, let's divide the employees into high risk, medium risk, and low risk. Your high risk employees are those employees who will come into contact with COVID-19 on a regular basis. Those are your hospital staff, your doctors and nurses. Even people in the morgue will come into contact with diseases and this virus. Then you also have those people that work at chemists and the pharmacists and people who work in the labs who are doing the swabbing in terms of these tests that will come into contact. Those are high risk employees. Your medium risk employees will be those people who are your receptionists, your high volume retail cashiers and packers, and community workers. So those people who work in the community, or for instance, your CCMA assistant who helps those people who have disputes with their employers. Those are the kinds of people that you would call medium risk. And then your low risk are those people who are capable of working from home and are capable to isolate themselves in certain respects. We need to make sure that the Occupational Health and Safety officer does a risk assessment and then assesses these employees in accordance with whether they are high risk or not.
Okay, so you're talking about workplace control. Let's talk about administrative controls, including special leave. How can that be invoked if you feel that either you're not in a safe working environment or you yourself are probably feeling ill? And looking at cases of domestic workers, we spoke about the fact that they enjoy so little rights. How do you make sure that you're protected?
Well, in terms of the domestic workers, you as the employer are going to have to pay for the employee, your domestic worker, if he or she catches COVID-19 whilst they're working for you, or even if they catch it on a taxi coming to work for you. Unfortunately, there is no assistance from the government in that regard. The government has been talking about special leave. I can't find that in any of the Labour Relations or Labour Relations Act or the Labour-related acts, other than the Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Diseases Act. I had first thought that we can use the 6-week sick leave that one would be capable of using if you were sick. But that doesn't really come into the Occupational Health and Safety Act And the only thing that I can see one using is the Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Diseases Act. But let me say this. Whatever decision the employer makes in terms of an employee who is trying to mitigate not only the company's risk, but South Africa's risk, we need to take more leadership on assessing whether it is the company who's going to take a knock, whether it is the government who's going to take a knock, or whether it is a South African citizen who's going to take the knock. And I believe that cooperation and collaboration between the three would assist us in coming to terms with a very, very difficult situation that has not been sufficiently catered for in any of our labor-related acts.
And I'd imagine that also would include, even if you are an employer of a single employee, as we mentioned in the domestic context, that you have to give some sort of training, protective gear, etc.
Absolutely. If they are your domestic employee, they are also a high risk in terms of if you have caught it, or if your child has caught it, or anybody close to them has caught it. You need to teach them about sanitation and using hand sanitizers. And you need to try and get the proper masks involved. You need to attempt to see what their environment is at home if they don't live on your property, and ensure that they have the sanitizers at home and the masks at home, and that they are teaching those people who are taking care of their children to isolate for the next whilst we are trying to sort out and mitigate our risk.
Thank you so much for speaking to us, labour law expert Natasha Moni. And we do apologise for the quality of sound, but unfortunately working with technology not always guaranteed. But that is the latest update at the moment on the COVID virus, especially when it comes to labour laws and how it affects you. If you need to learn more, do stay tuned. And of course you can go to sabcnews.com to watch those interviews.